Hello, everyone. How you doing? You guys have a good day? How many of you is your first time learning anything about DJing? Wait a minute. How many people in the class? And all of you have some experience. All right, that's great. I thought this was a beginning lesson. Well, I hope today the workshop for Charlie Camp has been very interesting for you. This particular part is called DJ culture, DJ history. So these two gentlemen I have next to me have so much experience, and it looks like we're going to have some more feedback coming. My name is Roberto Ingram. I'm also a DJ producer. I've been DJing for 30 years. Also producing for 10, and I also danced on a television show called Soul Train, where I was first introduced to some really great music from disco, soul, funk at first hand. And I run a podcast series called Decisive Podcast for DJ culture, and also I love exploring new talent, and that's always been something I really enjoy. And today, to succeed me, I have two gentlemen that have been doing what they do for nearly, 30 years, 40 years for you?
40.
40, and?
I started in the industry in 1981.
Okay. Mr. Bill Brewster, he's from the UK, and we have DJ Hell, of course. How many of you know DJ Hell? Have you heard of him? Right? So you know we have a lot of history to get to, right? Okay. Both of you are bred from different cloth, as we found out today, right? But at the same time, you both have cultivated a tolerance to keep things moving from the early days, I guess. You know, for me, it's probably important to start off with you. Well, not important, but I would like to do so. I understand that you have been known to be called the Electro Wisdom King.
I never heard that. What is it called?
Electro Wisdom King.
Seriously, I never heard that.
I was reading this the other day, and I forgot where I read it at, but Electro Wisdom King.
As far as I know, they called me Godfather of Techno. That's one. Then another one is, I have to say it in German because they said it in German. It's das gute Gewissen des Deutschen Techno. Another one. Then another one is called. They called me King of Techno. And many more. I don't know. I don't know your version. Wisdom, what of Electro?
And how do you accept these different names? With pride, or?
I liked.
Okay.
Oh, there was another one. It's called First Nachtleben. That's like a nightlife, whatever. Huh?
Count nightlife.
Count.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, there's even more. Some was like maybe like ugly, you know, like not friendly, whatever. There's so many stories and rumors. If you 40 years on the dance floor or behind the decks, it's like. What was the question? The wisdom of Electro?
Yeah, I just wanted to, we didn't have to get into a big story about it, but you have so many different names, and I said Electro King Win, and it just kind of is something I brought up because
I have another one. I called myself because in the 80s I was a hip hop DJ, and I played a show in Munich and Run DMC was in town, and they came to my club where I was playing, and that time my name was Space DJ G Hell.
Why did they get it right? DJ Hell.
Like, you know, G for Geyer, my real name. And Hell, I had already cut down the heli from the L. Okay,
you weren't releasing.
Warm up
you weren't releasing it this time, though, right?
Because
there's a lot of monikers out. when you?
Not in the
yeah,
80s.
business
My
life?
first record was in 92. It was called My Definition of House Music. And that was the first one. And I tried to produce already in an earlier stage, but in Munich there was no studios or no people who were interested doing that kind of music, I think.
Well, let's get into your DJ history.
Okay.
Clearly, you have a really complete story, and it's maybe we don't have enough time to get through it all. So if you would give us a short version of that, which would mean I know since '78 you started playing, right? Why was DJ interesting for you?
Even that's not true, because I found out that I was playing in a place when I was 15. It was called a Jugendzentrum, like a youth center, and somebody told me that I was the DJ, and I forgot about it. And the other one was dancing, but I really don't know why I was the DJ. And I always played the same song from a band from Austria called Supermax, and the track was called Love Machine. And I played it all night, again and again and again. So yeah, that's the story. So I forgot about that, but that's maybe my first nomination to be the DJ.
Anyway, that's a lot of years of experience, right? Can you please talk to us about why you found DJing to be interesting? Why is DJing interesting for you then back then?
I loved music, and it was an escape from a small town. I was born in near here, in a place called Traunstein, very small town, and there was nothing going on. So radio and music and buying records was an escape from that, and listening to the big city sound or whatever. And I remember listening to Thomas Gottschalk, DJ Thomas Gottschalk. True. And he had a radio show called Pop nach 8. And he was the first one who played Police and early new wave stuff. And he didn't play punk because it was a Munich radio station. But then later on he became like a TV presenter, very famous, Thomas Gottschalk. You heard about him? Maybe?
No,
okay,
I
sorry.
haven't, no.
He's pretty big here. And funny thing is, nobody knows that he was starting as a DJ. So he was kind of, somebody I listened to. And it was I would say it was an escape from the small town melancholy, maybe, listening to new music.
How about you, Bill?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah. How is DJing? Why is DJing so important to you? And
Well, to be honest, I never really had any ambition to be a DJ at all, and I kind of fell into it. So originally I moved to London in 1977 after seeing the Sex Pistols play in my kind of local town. So I was really into punk rock, and then from punk rock I got into like post-punk music. Bands like 23 Skidoo, Gang of Four, A Certain Ratio, all of those kind of bands. And the ones that I liked the most had more of a kind of a groove and were more dance floor friendly. Groups like Shriekback. So I started buying a lot of those records, and I started a band in sort of the end of 1981. And we got signed by a label in London. We put out a single. We did a little bit of touring. So my ambition at the time was to make a living from music as a kind of post-punk musician. Really, that was my.
What was the name of the band?
Group Therapy. We were on a label called Camera Records, which was the same label as Palais Schoenberg.
Are you really?
Remember Palais
Yeah.
Schoenberg? Yeah. So we were on the same label as Palais Schoenberg.
Wow.
So I was involved in music for until about 1985, 1986, without ever being particularly interested in DJing. I was collecting black music. I was really into hip-hop at that time, like early hip-hop, Run DMC, Schoolie D, bands like that. And when the last band that I was in split up, I'd been the one that made tapes between when the bands were performing. I'd kind of make these little mixtapes. So I kind of, I guess I was a DJ without realising it for quite a long time. And then I started getting asked to play at my friends' parties because I had a lot of records. So I was mainly a record collector more than a DJ. And from that, I started getting asked to play at friends' parties and decided that I actually preferred doing that to being in a band. The problem with being in a band is you're always arguing with the bass player about something. And what was great about DJing was it was sort of like running your own little benign dictatorship. So you're kind of imposing your will on people with the assistance of the dance floor. And that's what I really liked about it, much more than being... When you're in a band, all you can do when you're performing is play the songs that you've rehearsed. And what I loved about DJing was that you could play any records that you had with you. You could play a hip-hop record next to a rock record. You could play a disco record next to a house record. And I just loved the fact that you could move the music around in a way that was much more... It gave you much more freedom. And so I abandoned trying to be in bands and being a pop star and kind of concentrated on DJing. But I mean, initially I really had no interest in being a DJ, to be honest. And also and I'm sure it was the same for Hell as well, when I first started DJing, it had absolutely no status at all. You had the same status as the glass collector in a nightclub. There were no DJ stars. Not really. I mean, maybe in New York a little bit, but not anywhere else. In the UK, DJs were getting paid like 100 quid and playing all night, and they weren't being featured in Sunday supplements. They were just, the DJ in that club. And most clubs had a DJ who played all night, and that was it. There were no guests. It was just, you got 100 quid, you played all night in that club, and then you went home. That people were not moving from one town and one city to another to DJ. That really only started happening in the UK. I don't know if it's the same in Germany. After house music arrived, guest DJs started arriving too. And that changed the nature of what DJing was, because suddenly there were magazines that were writing about DJs. And because they needed people on the front cover of their magazines, they started building DJs up as stars, basically. But that's certainly not my experience of what it was like in the early years, and I suspect Hal's probably got a similar experience in Germany.
Similar experience, but very interesting how you explain it. I mean, I was in a group of 8 DJ guys, friends, collecting records, and we were tired of hearing the music from the club we always went. We hated that music. We said there's something new. There's punk music, Gang of Four, whatever you said. I agree. And they didn't play that music, but we already bought it, and we knew this is the new wave, the new thing is going on. It's something totally different, and we have to change it. So we asked the owner of the club to get a day, but we were like 8 guys, because also all the money we had went into records. It was the most important thing. So we were 8 guys at the DJ booth, and not at the same time, but we didn't have enough records. So also, I remember in the 70s, the DJ were like, one guy was playing the whole week in the club, every night, Maybe there was a different night, but it was like, they didn't call it resident DJ, it was like the DJ of their club, and he played every day, and he represented the music of the club. So, another thing.
Did you guys did you share your records?
Yeah.
If you bought one record, your friends wouldn't buy that.
It was always not easy, because I had to ask the guy to rent me or give me the records on the weekend. I gave it back on Monday. And if it's gonna be scratched or something, I have to buy a new one, stuff. So some were not easy to give it to me, but it was very important to get the new stuff played. And we got a Wednesday night in the beginning, and there was no people, and then suddenly there was more people. But another thing was, we didn't get paid, nothing. We had like free drinks, and that was limited as well. We couldn't invite anybody else. So
were those experiences? Did those experiences that you just talked about? I was going to get to that question. Was those experiences may have paved the way when you were you didn't know you were a DJ, but what experiences paved the way for you to become a professional DJ?
It got popular pretty soon, and we were offered to get the weekend, when the club was full and everybody was around. And then one guy decided to run his own club, and he was nominating me as the main DJ. I mean, he was protecting me or pushing me, and I never did it before, like playing every weekend in the same club. And I did it in the early 80s, 81. The club was called Libella in a small town. So I think I played there every weekend for many, many years. And the goal was always, or the idea, I can do it as on the same level or even better than the big guys in the big city like Munich. Munich was the big dream, big city dream. One day I will play in Munich, and prove it that I can, keep the level or even do it maybe better. That was the idea, the concept, being a DJ.
Were there DJs in Munich that you looked up to at that time?
Yeah, many in every club. Okay, I can call you the names. One was called No, before Speedy. Speedy was at the Park Cafe. It doesn't exist. And another one was called DJ Lupo, and he was at the P1. Very, very a great mentor of mine. Great guy, great DJ. Then there was a club called Größenwahn, Tanzlokal Größenwahn. It was like a small bar, dance club in the Klenzestraße around here. And every night they had different genres playing. Monday, heavy metal. Tuesday, Northern Soul. Wednesday, I tried to play house, it was my day. Thursday, I can't remember. And then I got offered the job on the weekend to play for all kind of crowds because everybody was coming together. And then the big thing was for me, I can play the gay night on Sunday. And so I had like 3 days. I played Wednesday. The weekend you have to play for a wider crowd, so not commercial, but to please everybody. And then on Sunday, gay people came and we played house and disco kind of stuff. It was really cool. Tanzlokal Größenwahn.
When did you realize? What was your experience when you knew that you'd be getting booked professionally, and obviously that means getting paid? You said you were just playing, casually with buying records and playing music. What stage of the game or what experience?
I was actually making a living as a music writer before I made a living as a DJ. So I started writing for Mixmag, which was a dance music magazine in the UK in 1989. Prior to that, I'd been running a football magazine called When Saturday Comes, which was like a little fanzine in the UK, but it grew very big, got really successful, and through that I started writing for Mixmag, and also I was writing for The Face as well about...
Mixmag still exists today, right?
It's like it's a website now rather than a magazine, but yeah, it does exist. So I was writing for Mixmag from 89 onwards. I was writing for The Face, writing about club music in The Face from 89 onwards as well. And at that stage I was kind of doing like little warm-ups in clubs in London, basically warming up for DJs like Roy the Roach was someone that I used to warm up for. Trying to think who else that I played with. Just a lot of the big DJs at the time. Dominic Moyer was a big DJ. I warmed up for him a few times. And then I didn't really start getting booked until I moved to New York in 1994, and I started getting gigs there. And when I came back from there, I was playing in gay clubs mainly. There was a club called Substation Soho, and I knew the guy that owned it, and I would replace anyone that couldn't play on a Friday or a Saturday. And the DJs then were like Tom Steffen, Tallulah, Martin Confusion, and people like that. And if they couldn't make a gig, I would fill in for them. So I was like the alternate. And but myself and my partner Frank started doing a party called Low Life when we were living in New York. And Low Life was the thing that really got me a lot of bookings. So when we moved that party from New York back to London, that started getting really big. And then when Fabric opened, I was made one of the residents there when it first opened. So I was a resident at Fabric from 1999 till 2006.
So those opening gigs was the bridge to your professional DJ career, right?
But to be
and
honest,
that's how important
I
it is.
still kind of regarded DJing as a hobby more than anything else. I would say even in the late 80s and 90s, I was very, very passionate about music, and I was buying a lot of music. I've always bought a lot of music. So it was just a nice hobby for me. It didn't feel like something that was realistically a job or a career.
Exactly, but opening up for such names,
No,
I mean, that's...
no, don't get me wrong. I mean, I was really lucky to get those gigs, but I didn't see it at that time as kind of something that was a career, I suppose. It was more like a thing that I did when I wasn't doing the other things that I did.
I have 3 questions now. Okay. First one, okay?
Yeah, please, yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
number one, it sounds you never you're not working with the booking agency that time.
No.
Okay.
I did not have a booking agent until 2003.
Wow. Okay, second question. What team you supporting? What soccer team?
I support Grimsby Town.
What?
I support Grimsby Town. We're like a really shit team in League Two.
Second.
No, 4th division.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, League Two.
From London?
No. I come from the north originally,
Yeah.
but I moved to London when I was a teenager. So my team is Grimsby Town. They're in the northeast.
There's no team in like the Premier League you support?
No. I hate the Premier League.
Okay,
the
cool.
Premier League is the enemy as far as I'm concerned. That's like voting Conservative to me.
So you would never go to the stadium and watch like Manchester United against Manchester City?
Yeah, I've been to.
Okay.
I mean, I've lived in London for 30 years. Friends of mine support Spurs and they support Arsenal and they support Chelsea. I go to those games occasionally, but when I see them, I think this is not as good as when I go and watch my team.
Got it.
Just, it's all about money. The Premier League is just money.
Yeah.
It's not about passion.
Yeah.
Not my kind of passion. So it just doesn't resonate with me.
Very interesting.
You've got a third question.
Third question was because I was in New York in 92, 93 and played there. So my question would be what clubs you played in New York in 94?
Save the Robots mainly. I played.
Save the Robots?
Yeah, I played in Save the Robots.
That's
quite
unbelievable.
often.
That's amazing.
That's unbelievable. My new record is called
Save the Robots.
Save the Robots.
Really?
Fuck, yeah.
Do you remember Save the Robots?
I played there many times.
Yeah.
But it was like an after-hour club.
Yeah. It didn't even open until 2, maybe?
Yeah. No,
I used to play there on a Wednesday and go straight to work on the Thursday morning.
Wow.
I started work at 9. I'd finish DJing at like 8 o'clock in the morning and go and get a shower and then go to work.
Unbelievable. No, the new record, I did a track with a friend of mine in New York.
New LP, right?
It's a 12-inch.
12-inch, yeah.
And the name is from the club, Save the Robots. And it's released now on vinyl. And that's really impressive that you played there as well. Because I remember we played there at 8 or 10 in the morning, something like.
Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it would go on very, very late.
It was more like after-hour club. And when all the big clubs were shut down, like 4, 5, 6, you went to Save the Robots in the morning.
And this was in the day. It was in Alphabet City, and this was in the days when Alphabet City was like dealers occupied all of the payphones in the district, and it was quite a tasty place to visit.
It was not safe, of course.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I agree. Wow.
What kind of audience did you have going there to Save the Robot?
Well, basically, anyone who didn't want to go to bed. It's true, isn't it?
Yeah,
it was like anyone who was a refugee from another club that didn't want to go to bed went to Save the Robots.
I think it was one of the only places that opened like longer the day, so everybody went to Save the Robots. It was famous and people knew it's going on, and it was the place in the morning or daytime. It was really cool. I liked it. That's why I called the record Save the Robots. Yeah.
Super.
Fuck.
For you, Hale. Okay. Are there major differences between the generations of DJs in the earlier days and now? What major differences are there through the generation that you...
To now?
Yeah. Back then and then what you know now.
I mean,
post-COVID.
I can just, just explain it from my side. I think the way I feel it or see it is the how I work. This is dying out. Like when I'm at the DJ booth, I'm really in a working, let's call it, like the Americans call it, working area. I'm really down with the music and really.
Not waving your hand.
Nah, this was not allowed.
Okay.
I never
Exactly.
did that. It
Exactly.
was kind of funny.
Exactly.
It was like if you do it, you kind of idiot. No, you're like an idiot. Like a Guido. We call it Guido. In New York, they said Guido. Yeah, remember?
Guido.
Guido. Yeah.
Guido is an Italian American from out of town.
Yeah.
But it's a derogatory term for a certain kind of clubber as well.
Now you don't animate the crowd. This is not. You don't have time for it. And
You don't have to. Yeah.
no, because back in the days you had the records and you really had like 2-3 records at the same time.
At the same time.
Yeah,
Right?
so it was really intense, and I couldn't even talk to somebody. And nowadays they all in the DJ booth and have a good time, and you even don't know who is playing, I mean, and then there's all the it's a party inside the DJ booth. Or the other thing, at the festival, they buy expensive tickets that people can stay on stage, and party with the DJ. And then there's the other crowd down at the festival. I mean,
Yeah, I totally can relate to that. Is it because a lot of DJs are not using records and using 3 turntables at once and
No.
They have to focus on the break and find out.
There was a time in the mid 90s, where we used like 3 record tables at the same time and tried to create like a powerful mix. And that was just a small period for a couple of years. And I mean, when I started DJing, there was 2 turntables and a mixer, So it was 77, even 75. So nowadays we have 2 turntables and a mixer, So sometimes I think nothing has changed, The good thing is we have better sound systems. And I even remember we had no monitoring in the clubs, nothing. There was no monitor. It was horrible to hear your own music, So it was like cutting or fading. It was no mixing, I think I start mixing records when house music came up in 85. We bought 2 of the same records, and then you realize, oh wow, you can, it's easy, and there's like mathematic system behind the music and a structure and an arrangement, and then you start mixing, and then you need a great monitoring, technical situation is very important, But that was not the question. Okay, that's the difference to the old.
No, actually, that tied to.
Okay, I have
that actually
one
tied
more
to the
thing.
question, for sure.
I always think when there's new guys, I hear new guys, or girls, or whatever you call it. They try to copy somebody. They don't have their own identity. They always sound like, Sven Fed or DJ Dixon or like Adam Beyer or the big guys. This, and you can hear. They try to copy them, and they don't. They maybe don't have the balls, or I don't know, or.
I mean, isn't that can be also a path to finding your own sound when you idolize somebody? I don't know who your biggest experience was as a DJ. You've interviewed hundreds of different DJs, and at some point.
I remember I lost many jobs because I played what I want, So. The guys who run the clubs or the manager said, "This music is whatever shit, and they said you're fired,
Right.
So, but I was always a guy who tried to experiment and take a risk, and do something new or find my own identity and play whatever I want, So I didn't make a compromise, never, ever, never, ever. And that's different now. I think, with the new guys.
How do you see this question? I mean, being a music journalist, and
Well,
you've interviewed so many different DJs. I mean,
I think when I first got involved in dance music, the dance music industry was actually very small and very underdeveloped. So I don't think many people would see what they were doing as a career. I mean, it didn't feel to me in the late 80s that anyone who was playing that music at the time, if you'd have said they would still be around 30 years later playing electronic music, I don't think many of them would have believed you, because it didn't feel necessarily like, well, I'll be honest, I don't think any of us were thinking about what would happen in 30 years for a start. But if we had have thought about it, I don't think anyone would have thought, well, this is going to be around in 30 years. It just didn't feel like a question that anyone was asking. So I don't think there was a developed industry. Now there's a very, very well-established industry where you have an agent, you have, a lot of the bigger young DJs have a team. I mean, I don't. I just have an agent and that's it, and everything I do on my own because I kind of like doing it that way. But I've heard lots of I've heard lots of DJs talking about their team, and that's what's changed now. I think everyone realises that this is an industry and that DJing is a career. It didn't feel to me like a career when I was first doing it. It felt like something that I couldn't believe that I was getting paid for, because I love music. I mean, that's what I really love doing and essentially I think when you're DJing, what you're doing is you're a music salesman. You want people to fall in love with the music that you're playing. That's essentially how I look at DJing when I'm playing, is like I'm spending 2 or 3 hours on a night telling you about all the records that I really love. And you're telling a story with the music that you really like and hoping that they will like some of it too. That's essentially what you're doing. But I never saw it in 20, 30 years ago as a career. It was something that I did that I really loved doing, but I didn't necessarily think that I would still be talking about it or doing it in 20 years' time. I don't think I actually thought about that at all, to be honest.
So the takeaway from what you said between the generational DJs in the beginning until now, that is, to me, was a good answer, because I agree.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, it's maybe a different point of view from an English side, or how we saw this dance music coming up, and early house and techno, and acid music was very important. And I think acid was also coming from England, and it was somehow, and America, but England had a big influence on us that time, because I think is it true that the first acid parties was in Shum, in London?
Yeah, well, not necessarily Shum, but certainly in the UK.
Yeah.
I mean, and what I liked about that period, and what a lot of people from my generation, because I was already in my 20s when house happened, so loads of my friends, most of my friends, in fact, hated it. But to me, it sounded like black punk rock. That's what attracted me to it, was because it sounded...
Black punk rock?
Yeah, I mean, when I heard the Sex Pistols...
Black punk rock, what is that?
Black punk rock is punk rock made by black artists.
Okay.
So when I heard Marshall Jefferson records, or when I heard acid tracks...
Yeah.
That was as punk rock as the Sex Pistols.
Mm-hmm.
It was very confrontational.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone that heard it and didn't like it said it wasn't music, which is what they also said when they first heard punk rock. So to me, it was a very confrontational kind of music.
I know what rock is, but where does the punk come from?
I love that new kind of term. This is amazing. Really is. I mean, a lot of time English journalists came up with names. Even. Let's go back in history when they said the Germans, they do, the crowds, they do their crowd rock. And I heard, or I know that many of the German producers and musicians hated that term, because they said we're doing cosmic music, or spaced out music, but it's not crowd rock. So this black punk rock is amazing. It's really, I love it. Let's keep it. Can I use it?
Be my guest.
No, there was one black punk band. They were called
Living Colour?
No, not that one. Three black guys from England, hardcore punk.
The only one I could think of is Basement 5, which had Dennis
That's the
Morris.
one. That's the one.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Dennis Morris, the photographer, but he used to take
like
all the
Basement
public
5.
images.
That's the one. Thank you. Yeah. No, I totally agree with what he said. It's amazing. I mean,
when you first heard acid music here, I mean, what was it that appealed to you about that music? What did it say to you?
I never get the question. Okay, it's the bass line, it's the sequence. Future was first acid track. I think it was an accident when they used it that way with the modulation. Yeah. So, I mean, the 303 Roland rhythm box was used as a bass sequence, and then they modulated it, and it became a genre. And I remember in the early days in Berlin, we said, if you don't use a 303, it's not acid. I mean, kind of true, So you can imitate that sound, but it's a special sound from this Roland box. And till today, I play acid tracks in every set I play. Every set. I try to do acid music myself, and 93. And I still love it. You never get tired of the sound. Well, what's your definition of acid? Black. Yeah.
Well, I can't disagree with your description. I think it's got to include a 303. That's the essential ingredient, isn't it?
You can use
it's like having yeast in bread.
The basic or true sound was 909. 303. You can also use an 808 and distort it or some, but it was mainly a drum box and 303. Maybe some vocals on top, and everybody can do that. So that was kind of punk rock as well, So I totally agree again, because it was very easy to do. I mean, it was not easy to program the best bass lines because it's really difficult. Till today, I'm still don't know how they did it, some lines, but. It's fascinating. Acid music never, and there's always a new generation listen to that the first time, and you can play tonight. We can play like 5-8 hours only acid music. It would be a great party. No, I would be. It would be cool. You play your acid tracks. That would be a challenge. You play your version of acid house or acid. No, black. What's it called?
Black. Was it black punk?
Black punk rock.
And I play my version, That's amazing.
Let me ask this.
Wow. Let's do it in London.
In preparation to your DJ sets or producing in the music studio, is your artistic approach based on a specific list of things? Because what changes have you made what changes have you made to elevate your DJ performance is what I'm getting to. I know that you're doing, for example, Hell Avatar videos.
A what?
To Hell Avatar videos.
That's true. Yeah.
Right.
That's the newest.
So what I'm trying to get at is what you were doing back then, and how you keep yourself relevant.
No, let's start from the future. So from nowadays, the Avatar thing was an idea.
This is DJ history, so I'm going from step by step.
I would like it.
Okay, good. Okay, all right. Let's do it.
I will answer the question.
Let's do it your way. No,
yeah,
I'm with you.
So, because you said the Avatar, and that was the thing, or the dream, or the concept, to not be there anymore. The Avatar will be playing. I do the mix at home and tweak it around and do like a 2 hours mix, but there will be the Avatar on a screen or hologram, so I can do simultaneous releases all around the world with different kind of mixes. And I tried already to do it and talk to festival bookers and stuff, but so far, I mean, there is some experiments with avatars. You're not there anymore. It's your avatar performing, and he's moving and looking into the crowd. It's not waving or doing stupid things, but I'm working on it. I would like to do that.
It's a freaking amazing technique.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, it's already possible. The technique is as far as that you can. I mean, I could put a screen there, and I made an avatar, so I have my digital print, and they can use it, or I pre-program it, and he will perform. And I will be at home, not traveling. Okay, but so.
If you guys haven't seen his latest, because I'm going to get to this next genre, which is electro, and then we're going to talk about new electro. What the heck?
Okay, we started with vinyl. Then, I mean, there was no digital, and it changed later on. So there was. I remember the first laptop DJs started playing. Then we had the CDR DJs. I love the CDR thing.
CDR.
Yeah, you paint your track listing on a CDR. And you have like booklets, and a flashlight because it was always dark. And I played many years only CDR after vinyl, and then everybody's into USB now. I never liked the laptop DJing or Final Scratch or other. I mean, maybe I do it. I would try to use like 4 or 6 channels at the same time when I play techno sets. And that will be experience, something new, but I'm very happy with the Pioneer system, mixer and the USB and the record box thing. It really helps you to make great performances and great set. It's amazing.
Do you prefer it to vinyl, now that you've obviously gone through a similar...
I think I was maybe one of the most craziest vinyl collectors I know.
No way.
Okay, second one. And I was put all my money into vinyl. Everywhere I went in Chicago, I went to places where warehouses, or talked to guys where I can find, or like really everywhere around the world. The first thing from the airport was going to the record shops and collecting, like mad. At the end, I was cutting tracks from Ron Hardy from Chicago. They were mixes recorded on cassette, and I mastered tracks out of it because it was never released, and I put it on dub plates. And because there was no vinyl, so I made my own vinyl. You can also do vinyl like 10 copies, even clear vinyl. It's not expensive. It costs you €30 or $30 now. You can press like one vinyl. So, I think like 10, 12 years ago, I changed totally into digital DJing. Sorry to say, stop buying vinyl, but I don't know how money I lost or spent on records, hundreds of thousands. I
used to see you at the Optimal record store all the time.
Every week, I bought like for €300 records, and that was even not enough. And when I release a new track, I put it on vinyl, definitely, to like limited amount, like 300 copies. Even put it on colored vinyl or make it look special. I think that's very important. But I'm lost. It's kind of craziness behind the vinyl and smelling it. Open the vinyl box after a heavy weekend, and it smells like smoke, like smoke machine, then cigarettes, and but I loved that smoke. It was smoke of the nightlife or club smoke. I loved that smoke.
On that note,
vinyl
is vinyl a dying breed?
The thing is, I've always been a fan of music, and when I was a kid, I first of all had cassettes because I couldn't afford to buy records, and then I bought records. I didn't buy them because I was necessarily in love with the format. I bought them because I loved music, and that was how you purchased music in those days. And the world has changed now. I loved vinyl culture like Hell was describing. I was exactly the same. I was a complete maniac for records. I'd go everywhere to find them. But then I started using CDRs in about 2002. And then from there, I just stopped playing vinyl. I mean, I used to carry a box around with me for about 5 years, and it was like a comfort blanket. I'd never actually played the records, but I wanted them there to know that if anything went wrong, I could go back to them. But I just never used them, and so in the end, I actually sold my record collection 3 years ago to a record dealer called Nick the Record in the UK. So I sold 15,000 records to him because I just felt that they were taking up so much room in my house, and I just wasn't playing them anymore.
Yeah.
I'd rather someone else buy them and get some use out of them, because they were becoming kind of museum pieces. So yes, I love vinyl. I still think that looking at a 12-inch single or an album looks far better artistically and kind of aesthetically, but I just don't play vinyl anymore, so what's the point in fetishizing it? You know,
Fetishizing and having, I would never sell all of my records. I would never do that.
I remember when you were in the studio doing tracks, you were already thinking about the cover of the release later on the vinyl,
Yeah,
you
no,
know. So
absolutely.
it was already, and the name, Save the Robots, whatever, you were thinking, how am I going to present it? How it's going to look like? Is it like a special colored vinyl? What is going to be on the cover, or on the backside, or how am I going to sell it, you know, or manufacturing it? This was very important. It was part of the creative process.
I mean, the one great thing about vinyl when you're DJing is that when you're looking for a track, it's far easier to find, far easier to remember a piece of vinyl than it is when you're using Rekordbox. You have to use other skills and methods to search for music on Rekordbox.
So what you did with the white labels, do you have like a special signing or stickers? Or
I used to have stickers on.
Yeah.
But
What
also
what kind of stickers?
You'd
Every DJ has his own sticker.
I used to
or
I used to have these white stickers with the artist name and then the
and
track
you
name.
wrote it on there.
And I
No.
would put it on the top right corner of the sleeve.
on the cover.
Yeah,
No,
on the cover. Yeah.
Oh, at the end we were throwing out the covers. We just used the records and the inner sleeve, so you can put more records in a like a,
Right,
a
yeah.
box. You don't have like
Okay.
50, you have like 80 maybe. No covers. I even throw the covers away when I bought the records. I only keep the cover. They were
Really?
really special, you know. But mostly it was white or black.
I did the same
The
thing.
sleeves, so I
I
throw
mean,
it.
But I
it's
regret
kind
it
of
now.
crazy when you think about it. I mean, you'd travel to, like, I don't know, Italy or somewhere, and you'd have a box and it had 80 records in it, and that was what you had to deal with for like a 2-hour set.
Yeah.
And if you'd been booked for the wrong club, you were fucked. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
I've turned up at clubs and thought I've got 2 records that are going to work in this club, and you know, whereas now with a USB stick, you can turn up pretty much anywhere and you can play, you know, I've got 7,000 tracks and you can play Northern Soul, you
Yeah.
can play hip hop,
Yeah.
you can play, you know, post-punk, you can play anything because you've got it with you.
Black punk rock.
Black punk rock.
That's amazing.
So, Bill, let me talk to Bill really quick for a second. You've written books about DJing culture, and you know, you've really done how many books and how many years have you been doing what you do?
I've written 5 books in total, 4 of them with my partner, Frank Broughton.
What did you expect to get from the books?
I
You
don't
told
know.
me, we talked earlier, and
Okay,
you had a very
the
great,
first
good
book
answer.
that we wrote together. Well, the first proper book we wrote together was called "Last Night a DJ Saved My Life," and it's like a history of the DJ. What did we expect to get from it? I don't know. But what we were motivated to do was to try and write about a culture that we felt deserved more attention and credit than
Right.
it did. Both of us have been involved in clubbing for quite a long time. And we just couldn't understand why there were all these books about the Beatles and there were all these books about Bob Dylan and all these books about the Rolling Stones, and yet there wasn't one book about DJs and DJing. And so we wanted to kind of try and write a history of what the DJ did, where the DJ came from, how DJs started, what influence they'd had, who was the first person to mix records, who was the first person to build a club sound system, who was the first person to create a 12-inch single, and just all of the kind of things that had been rolling around in our heads, I suppose. So our motivation was nothing more than to write a book about this scene that we've been involved in, and hopefully it would have some kind of resonance with people that were involved in in going to clubs and enjoying DJs. We just felt that DJs deserved a lot more respect than they had. Because I think when we wrote it, it was still in that period. I don't know if it's the same in Germany, but in the UK, there was still very much a like, musicians are over there and DJs are over there, and musicians think that DJs are a bunch of frauds. And so we felt we were fighting a battle with people who felt that DJs just played other people's records, without understanding that there's a lot more of a skill to it than that. So that's really the motivation for doing it. I mean, these days, I don't think that those divisions are there in the same way. In the UK, certainly, I see a lot more musicians collaborate with DJs in a way that is, you know, I think the two kind of camps have come together a little bit. But in the early days, it definitely felt like musicians thought that DJs were frauds, basically. And
was it like that here? Was it like that in Germany as well?
Let's go to that later. Sorry.
Okay. Go.
There was Andrew Weatherhall, you know, already remixing or producing the bands, you know, indie bands, and
absolutely was, yeah.
And the other guy who died recently from England, he was kind of rock and roller, but he was really great producer. One of the greatest. His name was. He died like 2 years ago. Huh?
He was working with Andy Weatherhall as well.
Yeah.
The producer of Andy Weatherhall.
No, he was a DJ, famous DJ. And he died recently. Okay.
Google that, please.
But the question I had to this thing: how does it work when you are two people writing a book? How is this process? When two people write on the same book, you know, how did this work?
Okay, so we divided the book up into chapters and said, I'll do this one, you do that one, you do that one, I'll do this one.
And if you don't agree on the other version?
Well, fortunately, we've been friends for nearly 30 years.
Yeah, okay.
We've worked together for nearly 30 years, and we know each other's strengths and weaknesses. So what we would do is we would write our chapters, but then we would sit together and work together so that it felt like one person was writing.
Okay.
So if you know our writing style, I think you could tell which chapter is written by which person, but I don't think it's obvious. I think you would read the book and not think who's writing this now.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
So because we've had our fingerprints on all the chapters together as well. We just have a good working relationship. So it kind of it just works for us.
For four books already, so
yeah.
Continuous.
That raises the question for me: is you two? I learned tonight. After all these years, have never.
We've never met.
Yeah, you never met. You had never played in the same venue. Blah blah blah, and which is great because you guys, we have different influences here. We have from Germany and one from the UK, and obviously they probably have different upbringing and history. With that said, you didn't know who at the peak time of a lot of the artists that I read that you were writing about in the book. Germany was also flourishing, big time, and it's only because you didn't write anything about any European DJs that I remember.
No, we did.
Or Germany?
Yeah,
as
in
well?
Germany. I mean,
okay.
I would say the first edition of the book, a lot of what we wrote about was either happening in Jamaica, the States, or the UK, and a little bit in Ibiza. But we did write about the early scene in Germany. We wrote about Dr. Motta and like the early Love Parade party, Love Parade and stuff like that. And then we did a further edition where we added some more stuff about Germany. We interviewed Klaus Stockhausen, for example. I mean, he was a big influence on like early house music.
To everybody,
yeah. So we interviewed Klaus Stockhausen. We went over to Belgium, interviewed a lot of like early Belgian DJs as well. we've tried to make it more European over the years. The issue for us has always been people not necessarily always speaking English, and it's not always very easy to. I've been over to Italy and tried to interview people who don't speak English, and it can be really, really difficult.
Same in France.
Yeah.
Sorry
yeah, no,
to
exactly.
say. Yeah. No, sorry to say. Yes.
Okay. I was just. It was only. It's not a confrontational question. It was interesting me because you wrote so many, and I was reading and I saw a lot of it. Maybe from genres from disco, soul, but I didn't get a lot of information about the techno scene or the electronic music scene, which I wanted to go back to DJ Hell because I wanted to get into this electro genre. I know, as far as I'm concerned, you mastered the art of electro, and I wanted to know the difference between the older electro and what you called the new electro.
Clash, okay.
Electro Clash.
Electro Clash, sorry.
And what are the ingredients? What makes it so
all
special?
All kind of ingredients. Yeah. I mean, I always think, or I get confused when people say I'm going to a club and they play electro, and there's not one electro or electro-funk track played from the DJ, but it's kind of, in Germany, it's very, very common. You say, I'm like electro music. But it doesn't mean you like electro music, it means you like electronic music. I don't know, maybe it's my wrong understanding. People always say they love electro, but you know, as the godfather of Electro Clash, I have a different point of view. So
is there a different point of view as electro?
To me, electro was Africa Bambaataa and electro funk music in the early 80s, mid 80s. They call it electro funk or electro music combined with Miami bass kind of stuff, and I played that music already. There was people like Hashim or Bambaataa in New York, you know, cut it Kraftwerk sounds and put some electro beats on top. And electro to me was never fought to the floor. The main point with electro is just always the snare, you know. And a lot of people into electro, like early 80s electro, for the religion is you only have to use an 808. It's not allowed to use any other drum machine. Like Arto Baker, you know, or these guys from New York. So many early pioneers only worked with Roland 808 drum computer. And so I was DJing that kind of music, and around 2000, I was in New York, and I was running my own record label already called International DJ Gigolo Records. So there was many signs from all around the world with different kind of music, but I thought I have to give it a name because it's people from Australia, from London, from New York, from Berlin, from everywhere working on the same thing, on the same idea, on the same concept. And it was music based on disco, new wave, house, song-oriented punk, definitely punk. Guitars were allowed again because synth pop, very important. Thank you, very important. So I found a guy, a promoter, and I said, let's do a festival in New York, and we have to give it a name because it always needs a name like Black Punk Rock or Electro Clash. So we were playing around with names, and we both agreed on Electro Clash. And I mean, the problem was he was a promoter, and I was responsible for the lineup and for the music, and he was too much into going into that in my area, so I canceled it. He did the festival, I was not performing, and I told all the other artists not to perform because he don't know how to run the show. I know it was, you know, big story. So till today, I'm not happy with that situation because he says he's the founder or godfather or whatever, not the godfather, but he found the name, you know, Electro Clash. And you know, I would like to say that I found a music genre and gave it a name, you know, for the music history books because it was my idea. But that was not the question. So we call it Electro Clash. Later on, they called it Electro Cash because it went so popular. And we had bands from London, from New York, named Fisher Spooner. Then we had a guy from Canada called Tiga. he did a song called Sunglasses at Night. It went into top 20 charts. Then we had a guy from Munich. He was called, the band was called Zombie Nation, and they did a track called Kernkraft 400. It's one of the most known tracks in sport arenas now when there's basketball games or American football games, or when the German national team scores a goal, they play that song. They play Kernkraft 400. I don't sing it because it's a stupid line, you know, so. But I think everybody knows the track, so. It was a really crazy time because suddenly we had the attention from the music world, the art world, and the fashion world, all at the same time. And everybody wants something from this new genre, Electro Clash, from this new hype. It was everywhere. I couldn't control it anymore. It was like, and then people started saying around 2002 already, we're not part of that. It's commercial. You're selling out, you know. Zombie Nation was number 2 in the UK charts. I think number 1 was maybe Dire Straits or something. A lot of stories, but does it answer your question with the electro?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay.
So there's the electro.
One more.
Yeah.
Okay, then let's take it a step further. What is the descriptions of new electro? I heard you say this on the interview.
I say it. I was thinking about it because I felt it's coming back. A lot of people say, what's the next thing? And they say, yeah, it's Electro Clash. And I was like, what are you talking about? But I can hear it everywhere. I mean, sound from the millennium, like 2000, 2002, 1998, it was very Electro Clash sounding, and it was very poppy, synth pop, punky, new wave, vocal orientated, very great kind of music. And this is happening now. I will play a lot of that tonight. So I play all electro stuff, Electro Clash stuff, and I call it new Electro Clash. So there's a lot of stuff. Red Access as an example from London, great producers. They sound totally like 2000. And many people like, it's a label from Berlin they called, her name is DJ Chigula. It's Chigula. It's a lady, great DJ, and they have a label called Life on Earth, right? Okay, Life on Earth. And they're pretty much around, and the kids love it, and to me it sounds like Electro Clash. So we also had guys from France, they were called Justice, yeah, and you know, they had great tracks, and everything was allowed. And it was an amazing time, but, and the attention was kind of hard to control. There were people want something every day, you know, so and like collaborations, or it went commercial in a way. And I said 2002, this is the last like Electro Clash sounding record I will release in 2002, and I will go back to New York and follow a new kind of wave or power, and there was LCD Sound System and the Rapture and James Murphy from DFA Records, and there was the new kind of DFA, yeah. And there was another guy from London called Trevor Jackson, and he was pretty much doing the same thing, and we did the same thing here in Munich and Berlin. And so there was this guys in New York, and I said, I have to be part of it, so I have to go to New York, and I went back to New York, produced some stuff, but that was after Electro Clash. I don't know what they called it. Indie dance? Oh, now they call it.
Well, it's an indie genre.
Now they call it dark disco. You heard about that?
No, it's news to me.
Dark disco.
So we're learning.
I know the records, but I didn't realize it had a different name.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So can you name in this electro genre? Well, you know what would be a good thing that do here is if any of the students have any questions at all for Bill or DJ Hill. Yeah.
So, do you have a process in defining your own sound, your identity sound? That's the first question. And the second is, do you sometimes break out of it, maybe at home, and play or mix something completely else than you would do when you're outside?
Funny thing is, I don't listen to music much at home, because I come from the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday gigs, and I'm happy to stop listening to music because I listen to my music or other kind of music from other DJs or bands at festivals for hours, for days, and I'm very happy to not listening to music at home. I rarely turn on the sound system. So when I listening to music at home, I check the promos. I got preparing the next weekend already. So when I came here, I was preparing like 50 new tracks and make my notes there and what I'm gonna play later on. So that's when I'm listening to music, like the news, because you as a DJ you're on promo lists. They send you pre-material and you have to give notes. So I mean, if I don't like it, I don't say it, But if I like something, you have to put like 5 stars maximum. So I give 5 stars most of the time. Because if I don't like it, why should I say it? I just don't repeat it. So you have a lot of, everybody, DJ has his own way of collecting. So I got a lot of demos, stuff was not released, and my unreleased material. Then you search on Beatport or Bandcamp, or people send you stuff, and it's every week. It's like I listen to maybe 1,000 songs, maybe more. But it's very quick, I know already what I like or not.
And it's based on your personal taste.
Yeah.
That you say that's my identity because it's my taste.
Problem is I play everything, so I have to listen to everything. It's really so famous DJs start to have like people who like pre-listening, and they say, I'm downloading the music for Richie Hawtin. That doesn't mean he listened to it, It says that somebody downloaded it for Richie. Maybe he listened to it later, but you can have your own list on Beatport called My Beatport, where you have all your favorite labels and producers, and so it pops up every day. So I'm lucky to get music from distributions. That means everything it's gonna be released. They send it to me. And then you always search, or I listen to other DJ sets, and if I can't get something, I call them and say, can you send it to me? Or I call the producer. When I really want something, I send a mail or on Instagram or Facebook, and I said, I heard that it's not released. Can you please send it to me? And most of the time it works. So it's a mixture of, but you're fighting for your stuff, for the good stuff, because there's a lot of great DJs and they play a set and you don't know any track, and that's not good. You need to find out what they play.
Bill, do you have an approach to any of those questions? Because you're different. You play a totally different.
I play a lot of different sets, so I'm kind of always looking for anything interesting, I suppose. I do a lot of what Hell does, though, to be honest. There's a lot of I get sent maybe 500 releases a week, and some of them will be like 3 tracks, some of them will be 2 tracks, some of them are albums, and you learn how to skim listen to tracks, so that you could pretty much tell from a kick drum and a snare sometimes that it's wrong. You might not know that it's right, but you know that it's wrong. And that sounds really dismissive of someone's work, but you just, after a while, you have a very advanced sensory feeling about what music is working and what music isn't working. So from that point of view, But at home, I tend to either listen more to speech podcasts, as a way of kind of getting a break from music. When I walk my dog, I never listen to music. I just listen to kind of like speech podcasts, because I spent most of the day listening to music, so you kind of need a little bit of a break. I find if you just keep listening to music over and over, you lose your sense of your critical faculties, and you stop being able to judge whether a track is good or bad. So sometimes you do need a break from it in order to kind of recharge your batteries, really.
This young lady, can you say your name, please?
My name is Valerie.
Valerie. Okay.
I have a question. yeah, we sort of thought, okay, what are dance floors like today? And one aspect that is really strong to me, and something that I don't like really much, is this, sometimes passive-aggressive culture on the dance floor, where you're not really attentive towards each other. It's more like everyone wants to be in the front, and there's just more of a battle, as in when do we finally get to the front, and it's more about being in front of the DJ. And that I think, I'm too young to know the times in which I didn't see the DJ in front, but I heard that there were times in the past where the DJ was not the center of the happening, but somewhere else.
Sure.
And we were talking about, that people don't really dance with each other.
That's it.
I feel like there's not much sensuality on a dance floor. It's much about just being forward, and I don't know. That sort of dynamic that I don't really like, and I'm wondering, would things change if the DJ would be behind the curtain? I'm thinking, what happens there?
I have one point for you. I'm from the dance culture, and in America, we dance, and there's lots of songs where you have dance moves and dance steps to the songs. And so
a special dance to a special song.
No, meaning that a lot of the songs, Electric Slide, what else? My sister's here. And a lot of the people were dancing together on the dance floor. Again, and the DJ booths are really high. So you didn't have this closeness, and you were separated from the DJ. So if you wanted to meet somebody, you had to dance with them. And we had slow songs. The music was pumping, and you slow the songs down. What are you going to do? You're not going to look at the DJ. You're going to dance with a girl, right? Or you're going to dance slow. So when I came to Europe, I realized the difference between when there's no dance, absolute no dance culture. There's no people are coming to get loose, and you're doing whatever you're doing, drinking it. But when you go out with a bunch of friends, or you go to people you know, then it's different. But again, I also agree with that particular point.
There's experiments of DJs named James Murphy, and too many DJs, they hide behind the curtain or something. You don't see them, and they put the greatest sound system in a room ever, work on this for like ages, that the sound is like perfect and the light, and you don't see them. I know many famous clubs like the Sound Factory in New York, where one of the greatest house DJs played, called
Junior
Vasquez. And he was up there somewhere, and he was in his own space. He was not. I don't think he was connected. There was like even a window or something.
There's a small window, but it was about 8 foot high. So it wasn't on the same level, so that you kind of really didn't pay attention to what he was doing. You kind of
so the sound system was the main thing at the Sound Factory in New York. Yeah, that was the experience you got because of the sound system. And there's experiments with people, or even you go to the Blitz Club in Munich. I would agree it's one of the best sound system I played for years. It's amazing. But what was the problem? You think
she was
that
saying
too many?
Everyone's facing the DJ.
Everybody wants to be near the DJ.
Together.
What?
I feel like
you have no space to dance.
I think it's not really friendly most of the times. I feel like, or it could be more friendly and more attentive. And I feel like sometimes this, like just being super central to the DJ, and everyone who just wants to be in the front, and this is sort of the main dynamic.
Could that be the?
This is an experience I can agree, but you need to travel. Go to Paris, go to London, go to Berlin, go to the greatest clubs in Berlin. You have a very different experience in every club, So I did the same, I went to London listening to I was not DJing, I just was watching the great guys DJing and learn from them, how they move, how they play, how they mix, how they do their thing. You know, I try to get close. Okay, same. You know, but I was even not dancing because I also want to see what record they played. You know, so. But you need to get more experienced in different kind of situations, clubs, festivals, small clubs like that. So many, and it's different everywhere. I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I do kind of agree with you, and I think it's a kind of it's a consequence of DJs being turned into stars, and I don't regard what I do as anything really to do with that. So I'm quite happy to be in a little corner out of the way while everyone's kind of dancing on the dance floor with themselves.
I mean,
the Ministry of Sound, when that first opened, that had a very, very small slit up on a wall. And then unfortunately they moved it to the stage, and it just kind of, for me, it spoiled it a little bit, because then everyone was just facing the stage rather than facing each other. And I think that's a little bit sad. I like to see people dancing with each other rather than... I mean, really, we're not that interesting to look at, let's be honest.
I think this music we play, DJ music, is club music, and this music was produced played out in clubs, not at festivals, you know. So later on, when people or DJs went popular or pop stars, suddenly we were playing, or not me, or also me, sorry, playing at big festival at huge stages, and sometimes you feel really lost at the huge stage because you have your small DJ booth, and everybody's looking at you, and
you always feel like you should be doing something.
Yeah, they
but
expect something.
Actually, anything
Yeah.
that you can do.
And if you don't do any clownesque kind of performance, they think you are bored. But I'm not bored, or teachers are not bored. They're highly concentrated on what they're doing, you know. So we can do curtain tonight, you know. If you, we can. If you bring some curtain, the first 3-4 hours we do with the curtain tonight. I agree.
I remember we used to hire dancers to go and create energy on the dance floor. That was one of our tricks, to take the attention off the DJ. But I really, that was a really good question. Really good question. Any more questions, please?
Yeah, I would like to relate.
What's your name?
Martin.
Martin.
I would like to relate to that. Are you, like, as my base hypothesis is that you're both are the godfathers of something? Do you take care of the clubs you're playing in? Like, we had this discussion, I recall when we talked about the clubs, and I think one development or one certain kind of clubs has this VIP zones for people. So people go there not for the music, people go there to show off, to buy the big bottles of champagne. And like, my personal interest is I prefer clubs where everyone comes together, which creates some diversity in the crowd, which means that there is no separation by, like, people are paying more for being in the VIP zone. And I was just wondering, I think all the clubs are coming to you, would like to have you in the DJ booth, but you say, okay, that's not a place I like to play for because it doesn't really relate to what I think dance music should bring to the people. And it also relates to the fact
New
of being,
generation thing.
like, do they want to have the DJ being like the pop star everyone is waving at and looking at? As I think one example where I experienced that is Ushuaia in Ibiza, or like the opposite is maybe Ritterwutzke, where I had the impression that DJ is below the crowd. So if you're in the center of the crowd, you don't know where the DJ is. And I think that makes it more interesting and kind of resolve the problem we just talked about. Because everyone is
I'm not sure if I understand completely, but I have two short answers. I never felt like a pop star, first, and second, I never go VIP or backstage, because this is where everybody's fucked up, and why should I be there or waste my time there? You know, I'm here to perform and do the best possible every night, every party, even tonight. I even don't know where there is a backstage or VIP room here. I have no idea. They don't tell me yet.
Can I elaborate a bit on this? What do you say? You get a request to play in a certain club, and then you look at this club and you say, okay,
Oh,
this
yeah.
is this kind of club is attracting these people, like showing off.
You mean Ushuaia in Ibiza?
No, for example,
I don't get it.
take Billionaires Club on the Sardinia Island or places like that.
They never asked me to play.
I'm not sure that we'd be very high up on the menu, to be honest. You know, there are plenty of people playing in big clubs in Las Vegas that they'd ask before me. That's for sure.
Oh, I would play. I would love to play in a Las Vegas hotel and create a show. You know, like a unique show where, that would be amazing. You know, because all these American DJs have these shows going on. This is a big thing, like Diplo or other good DJs. You know, they have huge shows going on in Las Vegas. That would be next level.
I honestly
Do it differently.
I honestly think this is a club owner, promoter's preference to be able to create this kind of a extra cash flow or whatever you want to call it, to sell drinks and get sponsors or whatever the hell. That has nothing to do with DJ culture.
It's a business model sometimes. Like some clubs live for the music, as Charlie most probably does.
Right, and there's many of those.
You have other clubs which are kind of they're profit maximizing institutions.
Yeah, you're talking about Ibiza. People are going across to have a holiday and vacation, and they want to be treated like that, and they give them what they want, and this kind of thing. This is, I guess,
But
out of the DJ's hand. Huh?
Is it a problem for you, or you just realize it's that, or
It's not a problem. It's just
no, not a problem, but
whether it's something you consider before saying, okay, I'm going to play there or not, or you say, I don't care about.
no, I would turn it around. You don't have to go there. You don't have to go to Ushuaia and play €100 and whatever, drink vintage champagne. You don't have to do that. I don't have to do it. No, maybe I missed
He's
it.
asking you. No, he's asking you. Would you not do? Do you have a choice to choose whether or not to do something in this kind of with this kind of a concept? Would you turn it? Are you interested in it?
I mean, I played in front of one guy in Austria, and I didn't know that he left because there was fog all around, so I kept going on. I played many parties with no fee, zero, because I knew the promoter and I could help him for whatever, you know, so anything is possible. If I don't want to do a booking, I say a crazy number of fee, but sometimes they say, okay, no problem. And then you have to do it. It already happened. So, but maybe only once or twice. If you come up, that's the trick. You come up with a crazy number, you don't want to do it. Let's say Ushuaia. You know, you know, it's not your thing. You don't know what to play. You don't want to, you know, get into this Ibiza sound, what they normally play there. So you say, whatever, you know, number.
Bill.
I mean, I'm not really that interested, but if someone offered me a ridiculous sum of money, I might well do it. I mean, it's, you know, it does depend on what the job is. It's not something that excites me, that's for sure, but, you know, when you work professionally as a DJ, sometimes you do some gigs that are not as exciting as others. It's just the nature of the job. So, yeah, not every gig you do is incredible. You try and make it as good as you possibly can, but you know, some gigs are good, some gigs are not so good.
I got it. Okay, in the 80s, or let's say 80s, 90s, I was a DJ in Munich already, and I said, at the end of my career, I would like to say I never played at the P1. Is that the right direction?
Yeah,
I said, and I would like to say that, you know, I never played there. Huh?
Mic drop.
What is?
Mic drop. You know, he's
But I did, you know, I did play there once, not twice.
No, it's all fine, but it's exactly.
Okay,
The question is not about me as a consumer.
Yeah.
I can decide whether I would like to go there. I've been to several places which, in the end, I didn't like, or I had friends brought me there, and it was still okay. But I thought if I would have the choice myself,
You would not do
at
it.
that moment, I would have picked another place.
Okay, I played at P1. It was like 30 years of P1 or 40 years, and in the middle of the set they stopped me and they said I should stop playing. You know, the resident is going on. That was like 3-4 years ago. And I was like, what the fuck, you know? I tried to make something happen here. It was like 40 years anniversary, or maybe 30 years. It's a very a posh club here, or it was a great club in the 80s here, P1. Prinzregentenstraße 1. It's named after a street in a great location. And yeah, they stopped me in the middle of the set. I was really angry because I said, you know, you booked me here, and finally I play, and then they said, people are complaining, they don't like your music, and we're gonna let the resident DJ play.
I would say it's a sign of quality of your music.
And he started playing Fischer Spooner Emerge mixed with some grunge records. What's the most famous grunge record? Nirvana. He played a mashup between Fischer Spooner and Nirvana. First record he played. And I was like, I have no words, you know. I released that Fischer Spooner track. I even released the record. He didn't even know that I released it. And then he was like a mashup version, and I was really angry. And not now, you know, now it's a funny story. But that happened like 3-4 years ago at P1, okay.
What are your favorite clubs? So
Favorite clubs where? Yeah, we are past our limit in the time, so we have a few more questions, and I have one final question for the guys. So let's finish this question.
Name a couple of clubs. Corsica Studios in London is really good. I used to love playing at a place called The Room in Madrid. Barbarella's in Croatia is amazing. There's 3.
There's favorite clubs in every city. I would call, let's go to London. It was a club called the Limelight. No, the End.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Mr.
the
C's
End.
club.
And then another club called Eurobeat 2000 or 3000. Eurobeat 2000 in Turnmills.
Right.
I like that. And I liked the Limelight in New York. It was a church. And it was like early 90s, was craziness in Manhattan. And then I would count Berghain in Berlin, like everybody loves it. And I would say Blitz now in Munich is a great club. But it's on every city they have great clubs. I mean, it changes all the time. So that would be my answer, yeah.
One more question?
My question is kind of similar to your one, I guess, but slightly different. So do you have like one record that you personally love very, very much, but you never found a situation or a crowd where you found a good...
I have another answer to that question. I know Derek May very well, and he plays I Feel Love in every set since I know him from Donna Summer. I think it's I Feel Love, and the second one is French Kiss. He plays it in every set. Crazy. And he always succeeds with this since 40 years. But you said a record...
No, but my question
Yeah.
is the other way around.
Yeah, I know, okay.
It was not
What's not possible to play?
something you like personally that you love so much,
Mhm.
but it's danceable,
Mhm.
but you never found...
I will find a way to
right-
play it. I will
Well,
find a way to
okay,
play it.
Okay.
Yeah, I will try to find a way to play it. Maybe it's the last track, you know.
Yeah.
You can play whatever is the last track.
Yeah.
It doesn't, you know, you can do whatever you want. So I will try.
Neil, this is a good one for you.
Not well. I'm with Hell on this.
Yeah.
I think when you really love something,
Something.
you find a way of playing it. And if you really love it, you stick by it and try and make it into a feature of the set. Really, I mean that's kind of what DJing is about. There's never been a track that I love that I refuse to play. I just wouldn't do that.
Okay.
I have just a couple more, and this is about DJ history, and I think these two are best capable of at least summing up this workshop today. One is from a historical perspective, where does DJ culture stand today?
I don't know. In what sense?
I would say you wrote the books. So you know the history up until this day, and you're even DJing. I've seen some great. I was checking some great videos, some great gigs you had. You still seem to love it, and you have the faith in it. So you must.
I'm really passionate about the things that I do. I wouldn't do them if I wasn't. I think once you start, I think you can tell with some DJs when they're not in love with it anymore and they're going through the motions. You just feel it in the way they play music. I don't feel like that. I mean, I love music and I love playing music for people. It's a privilege to get to do that. My brother for the whole of his adult life has done shit jobs. And I've been very lucky to not do that, so I feel very, very privileged about what I do.
And hell, you've been through thick and thin, up and down, through hell water, through COVID, and still you come back with the new album and you're still DJing, and
Okay.
This is not easy. Why?
It's not easy, but right now we on a situation on a level for DJ culture we never dreamed about it, worldwide phenomena. And I already would say I don't know many people who are not DJing, It's like everybody's DJing nowadays. And kids wants to be DJs still. It's like when we started in the 70s, we never thought about it, or even in the 90s, even like 10 years ago. It's a worldwide phenomena, and there's so many great new DJs coming up every week, everywhere, and I'm quite happy to went the way I went. But what was the other question?
Yeah, that was
where we are. Okay. And I never thought I'm 60 years old now, and I never thought I will be playing music in front of people when I'm 60. I never thought. No way, never. So. Now I have to think about what's with 70 or something, and I'm not sure. I don't have an answer now, but I feel quite be part of it. I'm producing a lot and work with young guys and DJs and producers and releasing their stuff, and I'm still burning for it. So that I realize that's my life. That's what I can do best, and this is where my passion is. And I'm a DJ. I'm a music lover.
You said it's I remember you quoted that it's your life.
It's my life, yeah. It's my life. So I will DJ till the end of my life. Maybe I'm the first DJ with 90 years old and playing in front of a club. Giorgio Moroder is playing in festivals. He's like 81, 82, 83. Giorgio Moroder from Munich. So he's DJing at festivals nowadays, and why not? It depends if your ears and your health, huh?
Lasting.
Yeah. So I have problems with my ears, like DJs or rock bands or who plays or listen to loud music every weekend. It gets damaged. And I will continue. Many releases. I have so many tracks not released. New album. I go on a South America tour in early next year and already signed the gigs. And I'm thinking about new album and other collaborations and things that I don't want to tell you now. So it's like projects that's not done, but it's so many things I never touched. In music, in the music world. So I like to work with. People I never thought I gonna met them, or like I did a remix for Tainted Love for Soft Cell recently, and I never thought they will ask me, so and it's always something new, and so the avatar thing I would like to do, and I always thought I want to do a live performance, me alone, but it's a different one. It's not the DJ table CD DJ and pioneer mix. And I always think about how can I reinvent that thing, as a DJ live act, playing my own music, because I have music produced since 30 years, so I would like to do that. But I don't know when. I already think about it since 30 years. So
Okay, one more. I hope the students here today have gotten a lot of history and DJ culture. If you had any questions that have been answered today, I hope that these guys have answered them for you. I just have one more for the guys. Why is DJ history so important to you and could be so important for the students?
I guess it's nice to have a perspective about people that have come before you and what they've done and how they struggled to kind of make a mark, and you know, whether it's reggae or disco or hip hop or whatever. I'm always fascinated by how genres come together, how hip hop was created from other people's records, and what Grandmaster Flash did and what Cool Herc did and all of that kind of stuff. So I think it's, I'm not saying it's super important, but I think it's nice to know about the people that came before you and what they did and what they achieved. Because essentially what you're doing is building on what they've already done.
I totally agree. But on the other side, I was thinking like 15 years ago, so I was thinking or talking to myself and said I cut the DJ out. Everybody's a DJ now. It's not a doctor title or something special. I'm not a DJ anymore. I'm an artist who runs his record label, who's producing, remixing, working with other artists, DJing as well, but that's just a small part of what I'm doing. So I thought I cut the DJ out, so I'm an artist. Hell, you know, that's the only thing. So I cut it out. Not good?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
That's super. You have a lot.
Sorry, I'm not a DJ.
I don't believe any of that, but it's great.
No, true.
But I hope that the discussion was okay with you guys, and hope you learned a lot. And thank you for listening. Let's give a big round of applause for Bill Brewster and DJ Hill.